Hello guys, my name is Bhargavi Sharma. I hope that you're having a great day wherever you are and whenever you're watching this tutorial. So today we'll be initiating our course for Basics of Intellectual Property Law. So if you're a beginner or if you're just looking to have more knowledge about this concept, this is the right platform for you. And I hope you have as much fun studying as I have teaching this. Okay, so now let's begin from the most basic point. So today we will cover the introduction of intellectual property law, then what comes under the scope of intellectual property rights, what gets left out. We will discuss why intellectual property is so important and why it should be protected. Then lastly, we'll look at two broad categorizations of intellectual property. So let's jump on to today's session, right? So before anything, we need to discuss what actually is intellectual property. So intellectual means something related to your intellect, something related to your cerebral capacity. So it will include the thinking aspect, right? It will include complex ideas, the ability to learn and understand that learned knowledge somewhere. Now, what is property? It is something that you own. It is your possession, your belonging, right? So intellectual property together would mean your creations, your belongings that were generated through your intellect. Okay, let's look at the official definition. So World Intellectual Property Organization or WIPO describes intellectual property as creations of the mind such as inventions, literary and artistic works, designs, symbols, names and images used in commerce. Also, Cambridge Dictionary describes it as someone's idea, invention, creation that can be protected by law from being copied by someone else. So what's the common pattern here? All things described require some or the other form of mental labor, right? So let's look at inventions here. So it is pretty self-explanatory. Then unique designs, they also require high creativity, right? But now we need to think about how do we stop someone else from unfairly benefiting from our creation. So if you spent a year writing a novel that you know can create a ripple effect in society, and someone else comes and steals your content and publishes under their name, how do you defend yourself and your work from such an offense? That's why intangible creations like intellectual property require certain rights to protect authors and inventors and their originators as well. So let's look at an official definition of intellectual property right? This one is given by WTO, which is World Trade Organization. And by the way, the organizations that I'm mentioning here, we will also study about them in the later sessions, all right? So World Trade Organization describes it as rights given to persons over the creations of their mind. So they usually give the creator an exclusive right over his or her creation for a certain period of time. I hope this is clear. Alright, now let's talk a bit about what comes under the protection of intellectual property law and what also gets left out. Alright, so when we talk about whatever is protected, we need to broaden our horizon first, because everything that requires some sort of mental labor or effort, whether that be books or screenplays or new inventions, whether it's scientific or slightly unscientific, processes, even symbols, logos, shapes, sometimes even famous dialogues or color marks or products linked to certain geographical location, anything, new varieties of plants, all of this and even more is protected with different sets of rights, which we will study in the depth later. Also note that in the age of internet, new sets of IP protection is also emerging. So in terms of technology, you can name software protection or domain protection. And lately talks of protection in AI is also emerging, but right now a concrete legislation is yet to be formed. Alright, now for the interesting part, what cannot be protected? Now, most basic things would be ideas. So IPR only protects the original expression of an idea, not the particular idea itself. So what does this mean? Let's understand this through a help of a case, okay? So this is R.G. Anand versus Deluxe Films case of 1978. Now what happened was R.G. Anand, who was a playwright, wrote and staged a Hindi play called Hum Hindustani. It was a social drama about communal harmony and integration of Hindus and Muslims in an independent India. Now, years later, Deluxe Films produced a movie called New Delhi, which also portrayed similar themes of intercommunity love and national integration. But what happened was R.G. Anand sued Deluxe Films by claiming that their film copied his play. Now, what happened? The court ruled against R.G. Anand. The apex court said that although the central idea or the main theme, which was communal harmony, was shared in both the play and the film, the treatment, the characters, dialogue, setting, structure, basically the entire adaptation of the film was very different. So, what do we learn from this? We learn that ideas are free, but expression of those ideas must be original to be protected. You can't own an idea, but only your original expression of that idea. Now, second most basic thing unprotected would be facts. So let's say that 4 plus 4 equals 8, or that Earth is spherical in shape, or that Nile is a river in Egypt. These things are universal in nature and they cannot be owned. Now, in some countries, very basic use articles are also not owned unless they have a specific and a unique design on them, in which case they can be protected through industrial design. It is also a type of intellectual property which we will study about later. So let's take an example. A plain white t-shirt would not be protected or owned, but if it has a swoosh Nike logo, then it is. Now let's jump on to the next topic. Why are intellectual property rights and laws so important? So the first point here is that it encourages innovation and creativity further. So if you know that you might create a short film and you'll have absolutely no guarantee of its future protection, which means that anyone anywhere can steal your months of hard work and creative expertise, and they can claim that it is their short film instead. Will you still have the motivation to create another one knowing that this incident might repeat? So when creators have an internal reassurance that whatever they create will remain theirs only, it gives them an incentive to create and own even more. Now, second point would be economic growth and competitiveness. So, strong intellectual property protection in a certain region would attract more foreign investments because investors will feel safer bringing their technology to a country or a region that values strong intellectual ownership. So, imagine if you belong to a place that is unique to making, a spice blend. Okay. So you protect the ingredients of that spice blend as a trade secret and guarantee the fact that no copycat will be ever, be able to recreate that spice blend from your region. Now what will happen? You will be able to expand the production of your spice, and investors can also put their money into your production business, knowing that it will remain safe and legally secure. Now, third point relates to rewards and recognition. Like we talked before, it wouldn't be fair if someone claimed ownership over your work, right? So, not only can you claim legal ownership, but also earn royalties and exclusive rights for your work. So, let's say if you're a singer, if anyone needs to use or reference your song in their movie, they'll have to compensate you for it financially and also credit your name accordingly. Now, let's talk about the last point, which is consumer protection and trust. This one is pretty basic. So when you go to a store, how do you distinguish Apple products from their cheap copies? So the build quality and the minor details on the phone's design and even the logo will let you know which one is real and which one is fake. So this ensures that you engage in only quality rich, safe and authentic products. I mean, unless you want to intentionally buy the counterfeit option, that's a whole other story. Anyway, let's talk about the last topic of today's session, which is the broad categorization of intellectual property. Now, here the first one is industrial property and the second one is copyright and related rights. Also, don't worry, we will go through everything one by one in depth in the later sessions. This is just to provide you with a broad idea. Okay, so coming back to the topic, industrial property covers rights that protect innovation and commercial identity. Okay, so for example, trademarks. They safeguard distinctive signs like we talked about, the Nike swoosh logo or the Tata's name and emblem. They are registered trademarks and they sort of distinguish their products from the counterfeits, and they also maintain their brand integrity. Then patents basically protect new inventions. So, for example, the Indian Patent Office granted patent to Tata Motors for its unique air cooling system. So, in Nano car, which it allowed Tata an exclusive commercial use over their air cooling system for a limited period of time. Then, industrial designs basically protect the visual appeal of the products. Like you must have noticed, the Coca-Cola bottles, it has a contoured shape, which is a classic example of protected industrial design. And if you see a glass bottle with the same height and build shape, it will remind you of Coca-Cola, regardless of its logo present or not. Then, trade secrets include confidential business formulas and processes. So, Coca Cola's recipe and KFC's spice blend are well known trade secrets and they remain unpatented to avoid disclosure. In fact, you know what? The secret Coca Cola recipe is actually kept in a high security vault in the Coca Cola Museum in Atlanta. So, visitors can see the vault, but of course, not the recipe inside. Then, at last, copyright protects the rights of authors or inventors over their original artistic and literary works, which can include either books, musics, film, paintings, sculptures, computer programs, the list goes on. An amazing example for this is how J.K. Rowling holds copyright over the Harry Potter book series, which prevents unauthorized reproductions or its adaptations. Similarly, even software like Adobe Photoshop, it protects the computer program under copyright only. Then, when we talk about related rights, they extend similar protections to, let's say, performers or broadcasting organizations like Doordarshan and record producers like T Series ownership of Bollywood songs. So, the core objective here is to incentivize and reward creative expression by giving exclusive control over use and distribution of such works. So, what do these protections do at last? They promote fair competition, consumer trust, and of course, technological advancement. Alright, I hope things are clear. Very well. So, we will meet in the next session to learn more about such organizations that govern and protect IP, and we will also study types of intellectual property. Until next time, I hope you have an amazing day. Take care and stay tuned.